Grace never changed. She still greeted every employee by name, still brought sandwiches to the hands on hard days, and still taught children about hard work and kindness. At their wedding 6 months later on the same ranch, Ellie Hargrove danced with her son and new daughter-in-law, her heart full. Buck would be proud, she whispered to Colt. You found a woman with real Southern heart. True wealth, they all learned, wasn't in oil wells or tech patents. It was in the quiet strength of good character, the kind that shines brightest when no one important is watching.
Bree, you have ambition and style, but you looked down on people doing honest work. You treated me and others like we were beneath you. That's not the Hargrove way. Bree tried to speak, tears already forming. I didn't know. I can change. Savannah, Colt continued gently, you say all the right things in public, but your kindness disappears when no one's watching. You play the church girl while calculating every move. Real faith shows in private, too. Savannah looked down, clutching her pearls. Then Colt turned to Grace. His voice softened. Grace Harlan, you treated me with respect from day one. You worked beside me, fed me when I was tired, defended people who couldn't defend themselves. You saw a man, not a position. You have the biggest heart I've ever known. The crowd murmured. Ellie stepped forward, eyes shining with pride. Character isn't loud. It's consistent. Grace, you passed every test without knowing there was one. Later that evening, as the band played soft country music and stars filled the Texas sky, Colt found Grace near the horse corral. I'm sorry I lied, he said, taking her hands. But I had to know. Grace squeezed his fingers. I fell for the ranch hand. Turns out he's even better than I imagined. But I'd still choose the man who mucks stalls and listens to an old teacher talk about kids' talk. Colt dropped to one knee, pulling out a simple but beautiful diamond ring that had belonged to his grandmother. Grace Harlan, will you marry me? Help me build a company and a life that values every single person? Tears streamed down her face. Yes, Colt, 1,000 times yes. The crowd cheered as he slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her under the Texas stars. Epilogue. Bree resigned 2 weeks later after mandatory sensitivity training. The spotlight.
Grace remained steady. She greeted Colt every morning with a smile, brought extra lunch for the hands on long days, defended a young intern when Bree snapped at her. One evening, after a long day, Colt was exhausted, sitting on a hay bale. Grace walked by carrying supplies. You look dead on your feet, she said softly. She sat beside him and handed him a sandwich from her bag. Peanut butter and jelly. Not fancy, but it'll hold you. Why are you so kind to me? Colt asked. Grace looked at the sunset. Because my mama raised me right. And because I know what it's like to work hard and still get looked down on. Doesn't matter if you're mucking stalls or running the company. Character shows in the quiet moments. Colt felt his heart shift that evening. The big reveal was set for the annual Hargrove family barbecue, a massive event on the ranch with hundreds of employees, families, local dignitaries, and live country music. Ellie had planned everything. That Saturday, the ranch was alive with the smell of brisket, ribs, and smoky barbecue. Strings of lights hung between oaks. A stage stood ready. Colt had spent the morning working as usual, helping set up tables in his ranch hand clothes. Bree arrived in a flashy red dress and cowboy boots that had never seen real dirt. Savannah wore a perfect white sundress with subtle pearls. Grace came in simple jeans and a blue blouse, helping carry trays of food for the volunteers. Ellie took the stage first. Welcome, everyone. Today is special. My son Colt is finally home and ready to take on more leadership. But before that, there's something you'll need to see.
She nodded toward the side. Colt walked up, still in his dusty work clothes at first. Then he stepped behind a screen, changed quickly into a crisp white shirt, dark jeans, and his best boots, and returned. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Bree's face went pale.
Grace Harlan was different. 26 years old, from a small town near San Antonio, she worked part-time coordinating educational programs for underprivileged kids on the ranch, teaching them about farming, horses, and renewable energy. She wore simple jeans, boots, and company polo shirts. Her dark hair was usually in a practical ponytail, and her smile reached her warm brown eyes. Colt met her on a hot afternoon while he was repairing a fence near the children's learning area. One little boy had dropped his water bottle in the dirt. Before Colt could move, Grace knelt down, picked it up, and handed it back with a gentle laugh. "Thank you, Miss Grace," the boy beamed. She noticed Colt watching. "Hey there, you're the new hand, right, Colt?" "Yes, ma'am." "You don't have to call me ma'am. I'm Grace. This heat is brutal today. Have you had water?" She reached into her cooler and handed him a cold bottle. "Keep it. Y'all work harder than anyone here." Colt took it, surprised. "Thank you. Most folks don't notice." Grace shrugged. "My daddy was a mechanic. He taught me everyone's work matters. You fixing that fence?" "Trying to." She rolled up her sleeves. "Well, let me help for a minute. Those kids love riding the trails, and we need this secure." Together, they worked in comfortable silence. Grace asked about his hometown, listened genuinely, and shared stories about the kids she taught. No pretense, just honest work and kindness. Over the next few weeks, the differences sharpened. Bree's behavior grew worse. She flirted shamelessly with Hank, the operations manager, whenever she thought it might help her career. She made interns fetch her things, and once made a young warehouse worker redo an entire loading job because
Texas son. His muscles remembered the labor from his teenage years, but his pride took hits daily. Bree Langston arrived first on the scene. The 27-year-old Dallas transplant was everything a Texas social media page loved. Long highlighted hair, designer jeans that cost more than most people's truck payments, and a smile that could sell steak to vegetarians. She worked in marketing and often came to the ranch for photo shoots promoting Hargrove's Heartland values. On his third day, Colt was hosing down the stable area when Bree's red pickup roared in. She stepped out in heels that sank into the dirt. "Ew, watch where you're spraying that water," she snapped, jumping back. "I have an important shoot today." "Sorry, ma'am," Colt said politely, lowering the hose. "Just doing my job." Bree looked him up and down. "Well, do it somewhere else. People like you should know better than to get in the way of important folks." She tossed her empty iced coffee cup toward a trash barrel. It missed by 3 feet and landed in the mud. "Pick that up, will you? That's what you're here for." Colt's jaw tightened, but he nodded, picked up the cup, and tossed it properly. Bree didn't thank him. She was already on her phone, posting a selfie with the ranch in the background. Living that authentic Texas life. #Hargrove girl. Savannah Whitaker, 28, was the picture of Southern grace. Soft-spoken, always in modest sundresses or tasteful blouses, and heavily involved in the company's church outreach programs. She came to the ranch often to organize charity events. Colt first met her while carrying heavy sacks of feed. Savannah was directing volunteers for a weekend food drive. In front of the group, she was all kindness. "Oh, thank you so much for your hard work," she told Colt sweetly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "God bless you for serving." But later, when the volunteers left and Colt was sweeping near her, Savannah's tone changed. "Move that pile of dirt away from the entrance. It looks messy. And don't let the donors see you looking so sweaty. This is a Hargrove property. We have standards." "Yes, ma'am," Colt replied. Alone again, he shook his head. Public kindness, private calculation.
Eleanor Hargrove was not a woman you crossed in Texas. At 58, she stood tall like the live oaks on her sprawling 5,000-acre ranch outside Austin. Her late husband, Buck Hargrove, had built Hargrove Energy and Tech from a single oil rig into a billion-dollar empire that mixed old Texas oil with new green tech. After Buck's passing 10 years ago, everyone expected Ellie to sell or fade away. Instead, she doubled down, wearing her widowhood like armor and her Stetson like a crown. Her greatest treasure wasn't the company. It was her only son, Colton Colt Hargrove, 29, tall, broad-shouldered, with his father's easy smile and his mother's sharp eyes. Colt had just returned from 2 years studying sustainable energy at Texas A&M and working quietly in California. Ellie wanted him home, running the family legacy. But more than that, she wanted him settled with the right woman. "Money attracts vultures, Colt," she told him one evening on the wraparound porch of the big house, fireflies dancing in the warm Texas night. "I've watched 3 young women in our Austin headquarters for months. Bree Langston in marketing, Savannah Whitaker in community relations, and Grace Harlan, who helps with our education outreach programs. I want you to know their hearts before any ring gets involved." Colt leaned back in his rocking chair, sipping sweet tea. "Mom, you want me to spy on them?" "No, son. I want you to test them. Go in undercover as a new ranch hand and warehouse worker at the family ranch and distribution center. No one knows you're coming back except me and our operations manager, Hank. Wear boots, get dirty, and see who treats people right when they think no one's watching." Colt laughed, but his eyes grew serious. "You really think that's necessary?" "Texas teaches you a pretty smile and Sunday dress don't mean a good heart. You do this my way, or I'll pick for you." Colt grinned. "All right, Mama. Ranch hand it is." The next Monday, Colton Hargrove disappeared. In his place arrived Colt Rivers, a quiet 29-year-old temporary ranch hand from a small panhandle town. He showed up at the Hargrove Ranch wearing faded Wranglers, a dusty chambray shirt, scuffed boots, and a worn baseball cap. Hank, the loyal operations manager, introduced him to the crew. "Colt here will help with the horses, warehouse stock, and general cleanup. Treat him like any new hand." The work was real. Colt mucked stalls, loaded feed bags, swept the massive warehouse floors where company trucks loaded supplies, and helped repair fencing under the blazing